Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we go ahead with today's video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Please like the video, comment and share it far and wide. We've got quite a bit of news today. The first little bit of news I'm a little bit late on, but rather late than never. Okay, so a couple of days ago, a huge fight announcement for UFC's fight night in Riyadh, part of Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia, 1st of Feb 2025. They've got Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Imavov and Shara Bullet versus Michael Venom Page. Now, if you guys recall, in UFC 308, they had a massive card as well. They had Topuria Holloway, obviously Topuria coming out on top. They had Whitaker versus Chimaev. You had Ankalaev versus Rakic. You had Murphy versus Ige. And you had Shara Bullet versus Petrosian. Not to mention a couple of good fights on the undercard. Jeff Neal. You had Abus as well. It's just a banger of a card. Now, obviously, they're trying to step it up. And these are only the first two fights. They haven't even announced whether this is going to be main event, but likely will unless there's a title fight. But first off, Riyadh season, I mean, I wasn't really that much of a fan when I first heard of the idea, but they've really seemed to have stepped it up. It's not just fights and sporting events. They've got a whole host of things that they've got leading up to, obviously, then that fight at the end. They've got their battle cards, they got Boulevard World. Wonder Garden looks kind of like Tomorrowland, but an amusement park. They got a Harry Potter adventure. They've got the Groves. I don't even know what that is. Dunes of Arabia. Snooker Championships. Boulevard Runway. Maj Al Muhandis Night. Muhandis, the engineer, I think, in Arabic, if I remember correctly. Tyson Fury versus Usyk 2. Obviously, that's coming up in a couple of days. And then, of course, the UFC Fight Night as part of, the whole of Riyadh season, which is between October and March, I believe. So a lot of events, and this kind of looking to end it off on the sporting events so far. Israel Adesanya obviously came off 2 losses now, back-to-back losses, Strickland and Dricus, and then also, obviously, before that, Pereira. But, I mean, an absolute legend at middleweight, even after those losses, always a big name. Only really lost to sort of the top guys and Strickland as well. Imavov had a good run so far. I mean, he's in his last couple of fights, besides now the no contest with Chris Curtis, he's beaten Delite, Cannonier, and Allen. So, he's on a really good run. And this will be a test. This will be a massive test for him. Again, is he kind of on the way out, but did look good in his last fight against Dricus, so it's not like he's declining a hell of a lot. But this will be a good test for Imavov. I mean, if Imavov comes through this, then definitely, more than likely, going to get a title shot, unless... No, actually not. Khamzat. I mean, if Imavov gets through this, he's definitely one of the top contenders. I don't know. We don't know what's happening with Khamzat. Everybody thought Khamzat was going to get this title shot. Didn't get this title shot. But, Imavov will put his name... throw his name in the hat. Maybe a fight with Chimaev to see who the number one contender is. I do think Chimaev should get the next shot, depending on what happens between Strickland and Dricus. But definitely, if Imavov can win this, definitely a huge opportunity for him to throw his name in the hat for a title shot. And then, of course, Shara Bullet with his highlight reel knockout at UFC 308. On a really good run, obviously undefeated. Been slightly getting a step up in competition every single time. Petrosian was a bit of a step up, was actually a big step up compared to his other opponents. Interesting though with Michael Page, it is going to be a good fight, and I am looking forward to this fight. I think it's going to be super entertaining. I love what Michael Page is doing. He's just taking on all these, like exhibition style fights. But, he is a welterweight. So, a win for Shara Bullet, does that even let him climb the rankings? Who knows? Props to him for taking this fight, because this is going to be a fight for the fans, most definitely. Obviously, he came off his loss to Ian Machado Gary. So, having beaten Kevin Holland and Yamauchi. So, it's a big fight. It's a big fight either way. I just don't know what it does for Shara Bullet in the rankings, because it's an unranked welterweight that he's fighting against. But, who cares? It's going to be a fun fight. And if Michael Page can win this fight, man, what next? What does that do for him? Does he climb the rankings? More than likely he does. So, big fight so far. It'd be interesting to see if they add a title fight to this. You know, maybe there's Alex Pereira on this card. Who knows? You know, maybe that's one of the only places that Ankalaev can fight is in the Middle East. So maybe that comes in. But, you know, as far as a fight night, this is already like, these are banger fights, you know, in terms of the names, as you can see here, in terms of the fighters. I just can't wait for this one. Might actually go there myself. Next little bit of news. This is on Pound for Pound with Kamaru and Henry. This is just a sort of a frank discussion, really. It's a very cool video to see two friends chatting to one another on the mats. I'll put a link in the description here, but I just want to play you guys something. Khabib and Henry were discussing, you know, Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. If you guys recall, Ilia Topuria has chucked his name in the hat, or wants to go up to 155 to challenge Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira as a #1 contendership bout first, and even would relinquish his 145-pound belt. You know, honestly, for him, there's really not much else to do at 145, so I understand exactly why he's done it. But the two of them were discussing, you know, what would happen if Topuria moved up to 155 to challenge Islam Makhachev, and let's take a listen.
I like that. Okay, Ilia Topuria. I like what Ilia Topuria is doing. I really do. I like the fact that he's saying, you know what, I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the #1 contender.
So this is obviously what I said in reference to Ilia Topuria wanting to go up to 155. Now they're saying fight the #1 contender. And he's going to ask him now about his thoughts on Topuria moving up to 155, and then obviously trying to challenge Islam or Charles Oliveira. Let's hear what Khabib has to say.
If he wins, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. Look, listen, Ilia Topuria knocked out 2 first ballot.
So he says it's really good for him to move up to 155. He likes that. You know, obviously people have done it before. Conor McGregor did it to become champ. Volkanovski did it after clearing out 145-pound division. So Henry Cejudo is saying he likes doing that. Obviously, he says he likes doing that because Henry Cejudo himself did that. Let's have a listen.
Hall of Famers.
He knocked out 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. Obviously, Volkanovski and Max Holloway.
You know what I'm saying? Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Those guys are amongst the greatest featherweights of all time. I think he deserves.
I think if he move up and he beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next on the line. Why not?
So he needs to move up and he needs to beat someone like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, and then he'll be next in line.
Because there is nobody.
So you don't think...
There is nobody. I disagree. Okay, let's get to that. Wait, we'll get to that.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without, no, I don't agree.
So without fighting at 155, he does not deserve a shot. Fair enough.
Because Islam already give chance, and people talk bad about like, oh, he fight 2 times with Volkanovski, but the UFC push this fight, and this fight was good in first fight, but why Islam have to give 3?
Why doesn't Henry Cejudo look at Khabib in his eyes?
Time chance for 145 champion. Why? It's not fair for 155 pounds.
Right. But
so it's not fair that he has to keep giving a chance to 145 pounds champion, because I was one of the people that criticized, you know, his defenses that only come against 145 pounders. So fair enough. You know, the UFC did push that fight. We all wanted to see that fight, honestly, but he says here that, you know, why must Islam put himself, you know, out there again for criticism to face a 45-pound champion straight off the bat when he hasn't gone through a contender at all?
If he move up and he beat somebody like Charles Oliveira, of course.
yeah,
And I
like that.
And I think, you know what I think?
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
Yeah.
I think he can beat him.
I like Charles, but I think so too.
No,
I think
He can beat Charles Oliveira. I mean, he could beat Charles Oliveira. It would be interesting if they ever had to have that fight. Charles Oliveira is still a beast, and Charles Oliveira is huge for 155. And you saw him against Chandler, he looked massive compared to Chandler. But again, you know, I do agree with Khabib. You know, why must Islam put himself through that, yes, the fans want to see that, but there's going to always be criticism. It's like a no-win situation if you're fighting someone from the weight class below. It's an all-lose situation, because if you lose the belt, you lose to someone below you. If you beat him, you're supposed to beat him. So I do agree with him there. But Charles Oliveira, I don't know. You know, we'd have to see how everything of Ilia Topuria's translates to 155. That's always what we need to see. We needed to see it with Khamzat as well at 185, how everything translates. And as in the case of Khamzat, boy, did it translate. So I think Topuria can do it. I think Topuria is huge for 45. I think he has a chance, but you know, it'd be better for him to go up to face the champion straight away, in my opinion. Let's just hear the rest of it, and I'll give you some more thoughts on that.
I like Charles, and I think he beats Poirier. I don't know why Poirier would fight, or why would they give him that fight, but you know, maybe it's just because he's popular. But
okay, so they carry on and they talk about you know, Poirier and Gaethje and things like that. But I just want to get to this fight over here. So Makhachev versus Sarukian 2, 19th of January. Also another stellar card, 2 title fights. The return of Beneil Dariush, the return of Yuri and Jamal the Karen Hill. And Kevin Holland facing Renier Derrida, which is also, I mean, they're feeding Holland to the wolves, but, you know, you're in it to have fun fights. Now, if you guys recall, obviously they had their first fight, Makhachev and Arman, and Islam came out on top with a unanimous decision, but it was a very, very close fight. And I've been saying for the longest time, and you guys can clip this again, Arman Sarukian is going to beat Islam Makhachev. If you look at their first fight, Arman Sarukian was very, very close. Okay, in the end, Islam did a good job and had a good performance and won that fight. But Arman Sarukian's counter wrestling, he was able to nullify so much of what Islam Makhachev likes to do and is good at doing. He did that on short notice, and he was a kid when he fought him. He's since improved leaps and bounds. So has Islam. But I just think Arman Sarukian has that style to beat Islam Makhachev. He can nullify all of his attacks, and particularly in a 5-round fight, he can wear, you know, Islam's not going to be able to wear him out. He can grow into the fight, and I think he's going to win that. So if Arman Sarukian wins, as I think he will, we might get to see Topuria and Sarukian, which that in itself is also another banger of a fight. So I like the fact that Topuria is thinking of moving up. I think there's so many good fights that he can have. Maybe Max Holloway at 55 again, you know, who knows if Max can climb the ranks. Maybe time's not on his side, but you know, the options are endless for all of these fights, and for us fans, we can't wait. Okay, so this past weekend, obviously there was the fight night in Tampa. It was main evented or headlined by Joaquin Buckley and Colby Covington. Joaquin Buckley coming out on top after doctor stoppage. But for me, it was a fairly dominant performance. I know Colby was sort of starting to grow into it a little bit, but I think he'd just taken so much damage that, you know, it was inevitable that the fight was going to be stopped and that there was only really going to be one winner. Since then, his new coach, Uncle Chael, and even really him and his team have come out kind of in denial, which I don't like. You know, I like the way that Dominic Cruz went about his loss, to Cody Garbrandt. You know, not trying to make excuses that he was not at his best, or, you know, he didn't train properly or whatever it is. I know Colby Covington had a short notice fight. You know, he said he did it for the company, but they kind of seem in denial, kind of like it was, dare I say, a robbery. You know, Colby Covington did say it was bullshit. Dana White said if this was in Las Vegas, you know, we see another round and things like that. But man, what I talk about if he dies attitude. And then if we listen to what Colby's got to say directly after the fight, we hear more denial.
I just feel like a little disappointed. You know, I feel like the fans got robbed. You know, I was just coming out. I landed a spinning kick, and he was like, whoa. I could see he was a little wobble from me. He was like, man, nice kick, he was telling me. Like, I landed a takedown, started hitting some body shots. Like, dude, you're doing good now. He was like boosting me up. He was like boosting my confidence. So I was like, I feel like I was starting to wear out. And everybody knows I'm cardio king. I come on as the fight goes on. It took me a little bit to get into the fight. You know, I had a really tough weight cut on short notice. And I just feel like I was coming on. So just a little disappointment. But, you know, I'm not going to hold my head. You know, all the people that are going to hate on me.
I'm not hating on him, but just sounds like a whole bunch of denial. And it sounds like Uncle Chael is the yes man that Colby doesn't need. I think they need to be realistic. I think they need to give Joaquin Buckley his props. I think they also need to realize that maybe Colby's not in a position that he was a couple of years ago, where he was fighting Kamaru Usman, and they were having close fights till the broken jaw, and then, the decision in the last fight. But I don't know. It just sounds like a whole bunch of denial to me. Let me know what you guys think. I don't like it when fighters do this. I think it's better to just say, you know what, I was beaten on the night. He was better than me. And again, if you were taking this fight on short notice, there should be no excuses. It shouldn't be used as an excuse to then say, well, I lost because it was short notice. Imagine what I would have done in 3 months. Well, then why didn't you take the fight with a 3-month camp? Why did you take it on short notice if this was the case? But Chael maybe trying to be an optimist. But again, I don't think in these situations you need yes men. I think you need people to be honest with you. Chael did then later say, that Colby is 36. Where does he go to from here? But at the same token, he was talking about his heart, and that's the first thing to go when you're older. So I think Colby, needs to just reevaluate. He's still a good fighter, but do you really need yes men? Do you really need to be in denial like this? I think just accept it. It might be hard, but just accept it and move on and try to come back stronger. One person who's been loving the fact that Colby Covington lost to Joaquin Buckley is the heavyweight champion of the world, Mr. Johnny Bones Jones, who, by the way, changed his name to Johnny Meat. When did that happen? I didn't see that. But he said, he's had a couple of tweets and tweet replies in the last little while. He says, big shout out to Colby Covington for skipping training to get President Trump ready. We all appreciate the sacrifice, clown emoji. At least he got to see me win, with a salute. This is in reference, obviously, to Colby Covington saying that, he didn't train that hard. He wasn't training at all, or much at all. He was really just focused on the Trump campaign. John Jones really going after him now. In response to this tweet, Colby makes more excuses than anyone. That's what I find the most hilarious, listening to what he's going to come up with next after getting his ass whipped. Colby fought a dangerous contender at 37 years old on short notice. You can only dream of that. John Jones replies, yeah, I can only dream of making such a dumb decision, being on a losing streak. You're right, I can only dream. Colby sucks, lol. All talk, no game. John, you're the GOAT. Don't even acknowledge Colby. He's a bum. I know I shouldn't. It's just so much fun. It's amusing watching someone you know hate you fail repeatedly. And then he carries on and on and on. But Johnny Meat. Yeah, man. John Jones and Colby Covington renewing their feud, if you would. Lastly, again, Twitter battles. Michael Chandler posted best right hook in UFC history. Never forget this one. UFC Tampa. So Michael Chandler first posted best right hook in UFC history. Changed my mind. UFC Tampa at 1:55 minutes. In response to Michael Johnson's right hook at UFC Tampa, right hook win. Gets him there. Boom. Obviously trying to set up his next tweet to try to troll Dustin Poirier. He said, best right hook in UFC history. Never forget this one, UFC Tampa. Boom. Dustin Poirier gets knocked out. So Dustin Poirier responded and first said, remember when I beat your ass? You're 2-4 in the UFC, muscle milk Mike. And then he posted, don't forget this one, in reference to his right hook on Michael Chandler after he beat Michael Chandler. I mean, guys, let's be honest. It's unrealistic that these two are going to fight each other. They've already had their fight, and Dustin Poirier seems to be on his way out, possibly retiring. And it's interesting because Dana White even came out recently and spoke about Dustin Poirier and what's next for him. So yeah, after the Covington-Buckley main event at the press conference, he had this to say about Dustin Poirier.
Dustin Poirier said he's been teasing one last fight, his last dance, and recently he was on Twitter and he said basically that he's got something cooking and that quote-unquote there will be blood. Have you guys planned something for Dustin? You have to like reveal, obviously.
No, we're in the middle of talks for him with something that he wants to do for the end of his career.
So yeah, they're working on something special for Dustin Poirier's last fight. And unfortunately for Michael Chandler, I don't think that includes him. It's just interesting to see, though, Michael Chandler becoming a bit of a Twitter warrior now. The thing that he criticized Conor McGregor for so much when they were supposed to have their fight in the 2 or 2.5 year feud that they had leading up to that. And that's the news for today, guys. Let me know what you guys think about UFC Saudi Arabia. Let me know what you guys think about Khabib's comments on Ilia Topuria moving up to face Islam Makhachev. Will Islam Makhachev still be champion after this fight with Arman Tsarukyan in January? What do you guys think about Colby and Chael's analysis of the fight at UFC Tampa? What do you guys think of John Jones and Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler's little Twitter wars that they're having? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, guys, please make sure to like this video, comment, subscribe, and share it far and wide, and I will see you for the next bit of news. Cheers, everybody.